Hello, I'm Ruthin Memoriado. I am now presenting my course project in Data Communications and Networking 4. There are three group in topic list and I choose the group 1. So let's proceed to my presentation. Networking basics. Under these are point-to-point, branch connections, and lastly we have access control list. Welcome to my presentation on point-to-point and branch connections and access control list. In this presentation, I will explore the basics of these networking concepts and provide sample configurations using Cisco Packet Tracers. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced network administrator, this presentation will provide valuable insights into these important topics. What are point-to-point connections? Point-to-point connections are dedicated connections between two devices such as routers or switches that allow for the direct communication without interference from other devices. These connections can be established using various technologies, including disk line, D1, E1 lines, and frame relay connections. Advantages of point-to-point connections. First, high speed and reliable data transfer between two devices. Second, secure and private communication without interference from other devices. Implementing point-to-point connections. To establish a point-to-point connection, both devices need to be configured with the appropriate settings and protocols. These specific steps for configuration may vary depending on the technology used, but generally involve configuring the interface settings such as IP address and subnet mask and enabling appropriate routing protocols. Note that point-to-point connections are not limited to connections that cross land. There are hundreds of thousands of miles undersea fiber optic cables that connect countries and continents worldwide. An internet search of undersea internet cable map produces several cable maps of these undersea connections. Sample of configuration using Cisco Packet Tracer. Here is an example of how to configure a point-to-point connection between two routers using Cisco Packet Tracer. First step, connect the two routers with a serial cable. Second step, configure the interface settings on both routers, including the IP address and subnet mask. Third step, enable the appropriate routing protocol such as OSPF or EIGRP. In summary, point-to-point networks have several advantages such as dedicated connection, security, scalability, and high bandwidth communication. However, point-to-point networks also have disadvantages such as cost, limited flexibility, limited fault tolerance, and highly maintenance and troubleshooting needs. Now let's proceed to branch connections. A branch a branch network offers refer to a branch network architecture, or simply branch network is a distributed network structure used by organizations to connect multiple branch offices or locations to a central or main office, data center, or cloud-based resources. This network design enable businesses to extend their information technology, infrastructure, and services to remote or geographically spread location. Types of branch connection. There are several types of branch connections, including VPN, MPLS, Firmly, and leased lands. The choice of connection type depends on the specific needs of the organization. Sample configuration for branch connection. Here is, here is an example configuration for a branch connection using Cisco Packet Tracer. Step 1. Configure the router interface with the appropriate IP address and subnet mask. Step 2. Configure the router with the appropriate routing protocols such as OSPF or EIGRP. Step 3. Configure the branch switch with the appropriate balance and tracking protocols such as 802.1q. Step 4. Connect the router and switch using a crossover cable. Step 5. Verify connectivity between devices using ping and trace router commands. Efficient branch network design is crucial for organizations that rely on multiple branch offices to conduct their business. It ensures that remote locations can access the necessary resources securely, maintain high availability, and scale as the organization grows. Branch network design can vary significantly depending on the specific needs and resources of the organization. Let's now proceed to access control list. An access control list is a security feature used in computer networking and information technology to control and manage access to resources, systems, or data. Access controls lists are a set of rules or policies that define what actions or permissions are allowed or denied to various entities, such as users, applications, or network devices in a network or system. These rules are applied to various network devices like routers, switches, firewalls, and servers to regulate traffic and ensure security. Types of access control lists. There are two types of access control lists. First, standard control list, and the second is extended access control list. The standard access control list only filter traffic based on the source IP address, while extended access control list can filter traffic based on source and destination IP addresses, protocols, and port numbers. Sample configuration for standard access control list. First, access the router's command line interface. Second, enter global configuration mode. Third, Create a numbered standard access control list with the command access list. Lastly, apply the access control list to an interface with the command IP access group. Sample configuration for extended access control list. First, we have access the router's command line interface. Second, enter global configuration mode. Third, create a numbered extended access control list with the command access list. Lastly, apply the access control list to an interface with command IP access group. Access control lists are fundamental compound of network security and access management. They play a critical role in protecting network resources, ensuring data integrity, and enforcing network policies. Properly configured access control lists help organizations control who can access their system, data, and what they can do once they gain access. That's all for my presentation. Thank you and have a nice day.